Support comes from UT's Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, featuring miles of trails and nearly 900 native plant species. More about the official Botanic Garden of Texas at wildflower.org.
We have several different gardens within the same property. One thing I've found with the garden is it should always bring you joy. So when something isn't, then you switch and do something else. I'm Laura Wills, and this is our property. We live on 2 acres in Oak Hill. We've been here since 2011. When we moved in, there was 1 rose bush, a couple pomegranate trees, and some irises. A lot of St. Augustine, some Bermuda, and not much else to speak of. We came in and actually I saw the property, and that's what sold us on this place. We had the fenced area. I could see like, okay, this is a deer-proof area. We had a nice fenced area, and then there was a sunny spot in the back. Why we moved here, we used to live elsewhere in South Austin, and I had the really small yard. The vegetable garden was in the front, and we actually outgrew it. So we came out here and just slowly built on to where I was up to 16 4x8 beds. We'd get so many vegetables. I was canning, pickling, making salsas, and it was a lot of fun for a while. And then it got to be overwhelming. And I'm coming home from work and thinking, I have to spend 2 hours tonight making pickles. So I've switched it. I just put annuals out there. There's different reseeding wildflowers. Whatever the pollinators love, I just kind of let it go crazy out there. It's mostly shade. It's kind of dappled. It's a mix, back here. To show kind of the level of shade, when we moved in, we had St. Augustine in the shade parts, Bermuda, and Asiatic jasmine, in the sun parts. But the St. Augustine, I didn't even water it in 2011, that whole summer. So, it was surviving without much care. So that's why I've left it. I solarized some of the areas with Bermuda that were full sun. We have a pool, so I wanted to have kind of a pond feel. So that's why I have the bicolor iris, why I have the ruby crystal grass. Then the back bed, we had a Livin' Easy when we moved in, and it was really happy. So I just went with it. I loved it for a while, but then it was right behind the pool, and as we were swimming and enjoying the weather in the summer, the roses were at their worst. I ended up leaving a few. The Livin' Easy got to stay because, it's a survivor. I have Peggy Martin as well, and then 1 Belinda's Dream. But other than that, I've replaced it with fountain grass, firecracker fern, yellow hesperalo, things that are gonna look good in the summer and can take a beating. And then in the back, it's kind of dappled shade. You come out in the heat of the summer, and I wanted something soothing and cooling. So everything in the back is, it's purple and silvers with little pops of yellow and red. And I find that I come back and it just, it feels like the temperature drops 10 degrees. I've always been a fan of hostas. And when I first moved here, I was told from other gardeners, you can't grow those here, they don't do well. So this is kind of my attempt of like, what would a hosta garden look like in a climate that will not take hostas? So that's kind of, if I think of the structure of the lamb's ear and the purple heart, it's that same kind of feel. This bed right here, it used to be full shade, and when we had the trees pruned, ended up, taking 1 branch that converted this bed to a little bit more sun than we were hoping. But, the Zexmania, that's one that, here is on the edge, and it can take blast of sun in the afternoon. So I've got the Bettany, Peter's Purple, and the Zexmania. I've got some Ajuga here, and that one I ended up, usually end of the summer, some of it's gotten a little blasted, and so I just transplant, and then it does pretty well all through winter. The other beds are mostly dappled, so you can see the long skinny bed. That's where, since we've got a little more sun now, the coneflowers are now doing better. When we had the chickens before, and so we have kind of the chicken coop behind me, that this was kind of a dirt path because this was where we would walk. We'd go feed the chickens every day, take care of them. And once we got rid of the chickens, I still had this dirt path. This was just something I did last year, was to add the river rock into all of our path areas. And then the back bed, where you can see the 2 gates and with the chicken coop behind. So that bed, we used to have guineas along with the chickens and ducks. And the guineas are not that smart, and they would run back and forth on that bed, trying to get over to the other side, but couldn't figure out how to do it, even though they can fly. So that bed was constantly trampled. And so that bed, once we got rid of the guineas and chickens, I was able to actually create that bed, which is one of my favorites as well. It's mostly shade, gets a little bit of sun kind of in the afternoon, a little bit midday. The Salvia madrensis is there. I've got bronze fennel. The lamb's ear, that's the big lamb's ear. Lemon balm, very happy. So that bed is finally coming together once it's not trampled on a daily basis. My large bed back there, it was anchored by pomegranate when we moved in. Beautiful pomegranate that we mostly lost in snowpocalypse. It's coming back a little bit, so that changed that bed as well. There was a lot of shade back there that's now changed. So what happens is different plants like the changes, and so I let those plants thrive. This is what works in this garden. So, it's a lot of plants duplicated because I see what works. I find that all seasons I do like this garden because whether it's flowering or not, I have all of the different structure. I think I've put compost on it twice in the 11 years we've been here. And other than that, I really don't mess with it. I don't water too much really anywhere. When we moved in, we have this really sunny hillside, and there was a sprinkling of verbena and a few different wildflowers. When I had the vegetable garden, I wanted to bring in more pollinators to help with the vegetables. So I had brought in bees, and then I also wanted to give them some wildflowers. They needed more than just the vegetables. So we slowly, over 10 years, have just been adding more and more seeds to the meadow. Yeah, so the front garden, when we moved in, was just native grass. And we do love that, it's no maintenance. I still wanted a little bit more in some garden beds, but there's been a transition there as well. Like we had fruit trees at one point. There was a sunspot in the middle, so I had a lot of fruit trees. I found that they were requiring a lot of water, and squirrels eat most of the fruit. So we ended up, taking that sunbed and turning it into, wildflower meadow. And then slowly we've expanded the beds in the front, mostly natives, right? I water very little. With a watering can, probably once a week, twice a week, or once or twice a month, in the summer. And we've got a lot of dappled up front as well. Dry, shade, and deer-proof. Mealy blue sage that I didn't plant that are just there. I've got antelope horn. I've got, the different verbenas. I've got cute little delicate wildflowers. Also, when we moved in all along the house, house was built in the 60s, so you have your standard hedges that are, all along the front, and I wanted more of an organic feel. I've got the dwarf palmetto, so some different things that give you a little bit of texture without having the harshness of a hedge. My husband, Eric Wills, he was in technology industry with me for, 20 plus years, and recently wanted to, switch careers and try something new. So he is now going to ACC for blacksmithing and metal arts. The piece he's just recently finished is an ocotillo. Growing up in Phoenix, I always loved ocotillos. They are just my favorite. Mostly they're just not really meant for here. So I asked him, okay, can you build me an ocotillo so I can have that in my garden, a permanent flower. So that's one thing he's actually focused on is, permanent nature. So flowers and plants, that's really, his passion when it comes to metal art. What I find is it's a constant process with the art. Everything should have, a purpose. It should add, it shouldn't detract. So the front garden is all rust color. It's more natural. And then I come back here, and because I have all the silvers with the artemisia and with the lamb's ear, I wanted to play with the silver with the art. I know a lot of gardeners within Austin, and we will have different plants that we can't grow for no good reason, be it columbine or plumbago or lamb's ear. Our gardens are all microclimates in Austin, different soils, different areas. So you might have something that just doesn't work for you, and it doesn't say anything about your ability as a gardener. It just means try something else.